We got a lot of haters coming after the Chiefs Kingdom from pretty much all different directions. And now Joey Petersen of Ravens Rundown is talking his smack, trying to say that the Chiefs Kingdom can't get 100 likes on today's video. Who's he talking about? Who does he think he is? Who is the Ravens flock? Show him who's boss. Back me up on this, folks. Let's get 500 likes on today's video. Prove him wrong. Smash that like button, and we'll get started with today's show. Glad to have you with us here on the Kansas City Chiefs Report. Tyler Jones here. Appreciate y'all stopping by as we are talking about ESPN's offseason grade for the Kansas City Chiefs. We will break this down piece by piece of what ESPN's Seth Walder had to say, and then we'll go over the grade coming up at the end of today's show. And I'll tell you this, Walder was not too kind in his analysis and how he evaluated the job that Brett Veach has done over the last couple of months. And I found it fascinating for a couple of different reasons because the logic in a few areas was pretty flawed. Some of the criticisms were fair, and we'll go over all of those. But I did feel like that a lot of this is off base, and we'll go over that for you here in just a second. Let's start with the offseason recap. The three big things you need to know, according to ESPN. The biggest move was trading All-Pro offensive guard Joe Thuney to the Chicago Bears in exchange for a fourth-round pick. The most liked move that the Chiefs made this offseason was signing none other than Gardner Minshew as the backup quarterback, the former Raider and Colts and Jags QB. Also spent some time with the Eagles. He is now going to be the QB2 behind Patrick Mahomes. And the most disliked move was signing offensive tackle Jaylon Moore from the San Francisco 49ers. More on that coming up in just a moment. Let's start with the Joe Thuney analysis. And I think that we all sit here and thought the same thing when it came to trading Joe Thuney, that it was unfortunate that it had to be this way, but it was something that Kansas City needed to do. And to kind of put some context and perspective on it, there was discussions that Joe Thuney might get cut. And so although you did not get a ton in return for Joe Thuney, something is better than nothing. And you also did not have to pay an aging guard as well in the process. So it was a tough decision, but it was the right decision. Here's more from Seth Walder. Fresh off losing a Super Bowl in part because the offensive line struggled, Kansas City made the surprising choice to deal Thuney, one of its very best offensive linemen. It did make some sense, though. Thuney is 32, not necessarily old, given offensive linemen can play longer than other positions, but not young, and was in the last year of his deal. It was a tough call to make, but I think at the end of the day, it was the right decision to move on from him early, I guess you could say. There's the old Belichick philosophy that Brett Veach has said that he goes by himself, which is you rather move on from a player a year too early than a year too late. And in Joe Thuney's case, I think that's exactly what this was. Although Thuney is still playing at a high level, and for the most part, did a pretty decent job when he was asked to move over to the left tackle spot, it would have been a big investment to pay him, and that would have meant losing somebody else in the process. And then on top of that, too, you don't know when Father Time was going to catch up with him. So with that said, it was the right decision, but it was a tough decision. I think that we can all agree to that. Be 100% honest with me. Weigh in on our pinned comment today. Was trading Joe Thuney a mistake? Type Y for yes, in for no. Weigh in our pinned comment today. You might get an ad break while the ad's playing. Get your votes in. Let us know what you think. Number 2 on our takeaways from ESPN, we shift our attention to Trey Smith, who the Chiefs placed the franchise tag on. And at the time of this recording, we're still waiting to see if they get a long-term deal done before that July 15th deadline. And what Seth Walder is saying is that, hey, that franchise tag that they gave Trey Smith that he might have to play on was an overpay. Here's more from Seth Walder. The Chiefs needed to make some tough choices and opted to keep 26-year-old Trey Smith, a good guard, though not quite as good as Tuni, instead. It was a long-term decision. The Chiefs opted to franchise tag Smith, though they had to overpay him because the tag price is based on all offensive linemen rather than only guards. In other words, Smith was paid at a tackle price. Kansas City could still work out a long-term deal with Smith before the Tuesday deadline. Now, I disagree with calling this an overpay because, let's just say, worst case scenario, they don't get a deal done by the deadline, and I think they will. I still rather keep Trey Smith around, even with the high cap hit that he would take, and then get back to the negotiating table next year and try to get a long-term deal done. Trey Smith wants to be here. He's made that clear, but he would like to get paid as well, and understandably so. So for me, that is a risk worth taking. And then on top of that, you call it an overpay, but if you look at other players that are being paid the money that he is making here, I still think he's worth it of playing on the franchise tag. So I understand where he's coming from, but I think it is a bit of an overreaction to simplify it that much and just say that it was an overpay and they shouldn't have tagged him. They had an opportunity. They saw what the cap was going to. They thought they were going to lose Trey Smith at one point. I think it's better to have him on the franchise tag than not have him at all. Folks, want to make sure you're subscribed to the Kansas City Chiefs Report as we bring you our daily news and rumors, sometimes 2 and 3 videos a day. We have live shows each and every Tuesday, breaking news, Q&A mailbags, and more. This is your one-stop shop for all things Kansas City Chiefs. If you love the Chiefs, you've come to the right place. Best part about it, doesn't cost you a thing. 100% free to subscribe to the channel. Lock us in for daily Chiefs coverage, youtube.com/ChiefsTV. Let's get at least 20 subs off today's video. Training camp is almost here. We're going to be ramping things up. You don't want to miss any of it right here on the Kansas City Chiefs Report. Number 3 on the takeaways from ESPN. The left tackle position is still a mess. It has been a revolving door for a number of years for the Kansas City Chiefs. Really, since the departure of Eric Fisher, we have seen this not find its perfect solution. And Orlando Brown, at one point in time, was thought to be that solution. That did not work out. Last year was just all over the place. And now you have a couple of different candidates vying for that job with the free agent signing of Jaylon Moore, who Seth Walder did not like. More on that in a second. You got the draft pick of Josh Simmons. And then Kingsley's in contention to play the left guard spot. Maybe Moore could potentially move to left guard and all this. But nonetheless, here's what Walder had to say with his criticism. Even without Tuni, the more serious question was at left tackle. Last year's mish-mash of Wanya Morris, Kingsley, DJ Humphries, and an out-of-position Tuni wasn't good enough, and the Chiefs had to address the spot. The best option was Ronnie Stanley, but he flew off the board before free agency. Instead, the Chiefs opted for former 49ers backup Jaylon Moore for $15 million per year and $21 million fully guaranteed. A risky move. Not only was Moore not a starter, to be fair, he was behind 11-time Pro Bowler Trent Williams, but when he played, our metrics were not a fan. Moore has a career 83% pass block win rate at tackle and an 81% last season, which would have ranked third worst at the position had he qualified. But the Chiefs didn't just rely on Moore. They used the number 32 pick on Josh Simmons, who could compete for the starting job. On one hand, one of Moore, Simmons, or Kingsley could win the job and step up. On the other hand, it's more likely that tackle will be a weakness again, as most first-year tackles struggle. We don't have a perfect solution at this point in time. We just really don't at this juncture to this situation for what the Kansas City Chiefs find themselves in. Nobody knows exactly how this is all going to play out, but I like the Chiefs' odds that they will find a solution here in some way, shape, or form. I know the ESPN metrics aren't kind to Jaylon Moore here, but the Pro Football Focus metrics were kind to him in what he did in his starts that he had filling in for Trent Williams last year. So it kind of depends on who you're talking to. And then Josh Simmons, if he's fully healthy, this is a guy that, had he been healthy last year, probably would have been the first offensive lineman taken in last year's draft. So there's some incredible value here. And then you look at the left guard position, and we talk about that strength in numbers. I either got Moore, Kingsley, or Mike Caliendo starting at left guard. I would think that one of those three is going to emerge and do a good job. So while I understand the level of distrust here, I think because you have your lottery balls here, a number of them, something is bound to hit. So I still feel pretty good about the Chiefs' chances. How would you grade the Chiefs' offseason here in 2025 and what Brett Veach and company has done? Grade it for me in the comments section, A, B, C, D, or F. What do you think? Weigh in and let us know. Folks, we got a great deal for today and today only. All right, listen carefully. Right now, we are offering 25% off Patrick Mahomes jerseys plus free shipping with the promo code HOMERUN. All right? Got that all figured out? 25% off free shipping on Mahomes jerseys with the promo code HOMERUN. It is today. It is today only. So jump on this now and take advantage of it at chatsports.com/Mahomes. We also have other Chiefs merchandise. We got all sorts of different jersey options from the white to the red, men's and women's, kids' sizes, all available for you. Go see for yourself now. chatsports.com/Mahomes. The link is in the comments and the description of today's video. That's chatsports.com/Mahomes to get yours today. Number 4 on the takeaways from the offseason from ESPN, signing Kristian Fulton was a good call. Finally, something somewhat nice from ESPN in their analysis. Fulton comes over from the Los Angeles Chargers, expected to step into one of the starting outside corner roles, and Walder said this. Elsewhere, Kansas City added cornerback Kristian Fulton on a $10 million per year deal. Signing Fulton to support Trent McDuffie is a good idea, as cornerback play varies significantly from year to year, and Fulton performed at a high level with the Titans in 2022. I liked adding the depth of Fulton to the lineup. You still have Jaylon Watson here, at least for now. You drafted Noel Williams. You got some other guys like Jamari Connor and Joshua Williams, Najee Johnson. All of a sudden, you have some depth that you did not have before. And this team really struggled when it came to depth at the corner position, and that was pretty obvious when they got exposed when Jaylon Watson went down in the second half of the season. Also, now with having Fulton in the mix, along with Jaylon Watson playing your outside corner spots, then McDuffie can move back to his natural position of the nickelback spot. Although he played well at outside last year, I think we all know that he's best when he's playing the nickelback spot. I think this is a natural fit and a good win, and you didn't have to pay Fulton too much either. The big thing that Seth Walder loved, of all things the Chiefs did this offseason, was signing Gardner Minshew and calling it a bargain to bring him in to be the backup quarterback behind Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes. Walder saying this. Perhaps the Chiefs' best value move was signing Minshew to a one-year, $1.2 million contract. Considering how valuable a backup quarterback can be, getting Minshew, who earned $15 million last season with the Raiders, at that cost was a total bargain. If, God forbid, something happens to Patrick Mahomes, knock on wood, Minshew has proven that he's more than capable in spot start duty. If I need Gardner to play one game, he can get the job done. He's a competent quarterback. He did a very good job when Anthony Richardson went down a couple of years ago, stepping in, nearly taking the Indianapolis Colts to the playoffs. Now, if we're talking Patrick being out 5 games or more, then we got a problem on our hands here. But if I need Gardner to play a game or two, hell, even a playoff game for that matter, you're not out of it. We saw a few years ago when Mahomes got banged up against the Browns and Chad Henne was sipping on that Chad Henne's Hennessy and helped him lead a win in the playoffs to advance to the next round. Then Mahomes came back. If that situation, God forbid, were to arise again, I have every reason to think that Gardner Minshew could do exactly what Chad Henne did and get the job done. So, yes, I like that signing. We'll get to ESPN's grade here in just a moment. What was your favorite offseason move that Brett Veach and the Kansas City Chiefs made? If you had to pick one, what would it be and why? Weigh in, tell us in the comments section below. So, overall, ESPN's grade was a B-, but to kind of put this in context here, there wasn't a whole lot of teams that got C's And only one team got a D or worse. That was the New Orleans Saints. So this is, if we're talking about on a curve, on the bottom end of the curve of giving this a B minus. It's not a terrible grade, but it's still highly critical of what Brett Veach and company did. I thought that Veach deserves a ton more credit that the situation he was dealt, all right, with not having a ton of cap space to work with and finding a way to keep Trey Smith and Nick Bolton and having a very good draft, I think deserves better than a B minus. I thought it was an A offseason in my book with all things considered, but, hey, everybody's entitled to their opinion. So, with that, thanks for joining us here on this edition of the Kansas City Chiefs Report. If you enjoyed today's show, like the video. We certainly would appreciate it. I'm Tyler Jones. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.